I started off by asking the question, who am I as a person? And right there are the three most important people in the world to me. My wife, Michael, who I met teaching, in 1999. This fall, we're going to celebrate 22 years since our first date. On the left is our youngest son, Brendan, and on the right is our oldest son, Patrick. Who am I as a professional? That center picture is the last time I was a full-time teacher. That is a first grade class that I was working with. I particularly noticed the lack of gray hair. I don't know if anybody else noticed that. And every other picture that I've selected there really shows me interacting with students. When I was first considering being a superintendent, I really didn't have an understanding of what superintendents did. I thought they just worked with school committees and pushed a lot of papers. And obviously my predecessor, Mrs. Meyer, did not do just that. And so my goal is to get out there into our schools as much as possible, because that's Kasirian Ingera. And this is from the Maasai tribe in northern, central, and southern Kenya, as well as northern Tanzania. And it is how they greet each other by asking the question, how are the children? Every time, and most of the members of these tribes are warriors. And the first thing that they say to each other when they see each other is, how are the children? So as I considered my entry plan outline, I hope to be able to answer that question in a very...
We had a budget request to the town council. The town council approved a tax appropriation that was, I forget the percentage, but about $500,000 less. But then we were really hit hard when the anticipated amount of state funding, state aid, was reduced dramatically, even when some was restored by approximately, $550,000 or something like that. It was sort of the net reduction in our expectation. 581, thank you. Knowing that, it being too late certainly to propose layoffs of teachers, without wanting to, being so far along in the budget process, and without wanting to make any cuts to our programmatic offering, we went ahead and approved the budget, knowing that we would be relying heavily on fund balance, including for a pretty large chunk of operating expenses.
A dilemma we find ourselves dealing with here is that because we've taken a substantial, much more than we normally would to cover our operating expenses out of fund balance, that will have to be made up next year from the town appropriation. That's something in excess of 2% of we're starting off 2% in the hole because of the 4% cap. It's pretty obvious at this point that we're not going to be able to meet our statutory requirements and our contractual obligations and stay within the 4% cap as things look right now.
Half of the survey is about compliance, because as you all know, part of our role as school committee members is to make sure that we are following the law. And the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act has, very specific principles that we need to be following. So, we have a good portion of the survey that's basically compliance, and we're asking parents and families, do we feel like we're compliant in these areas? But that's a minimum bar, right? So that's not where we stop. We have a district strategic plan that's a vision for something better. And that vision includes all students. All means all. That includes students with disabilities. Okay, so GLOWs. Let's start with the good news. We always have strengths. GLOWs we quantified as areas of our survey that showed approximately to 8 to 10 of families surveyed felt we were doing well in addressing. Okay, so let's move on to our GLOWs. The summarizing statement: elementary, we have more GLOWs than secondary. elementary had strong collaboration and notable strengths in IT implementation, and that inclusion, being accepted and valued, is a strength. We would like to see each school get their specific data set from this survey for their school improvement informing. We'd like to have their school improvement team use this data. We would love to see this data, even just a couple data indicators, be infused into our district's data dashboard. And generally speaking, the parents just said they simply want to see growth and improvement from survey to survey, because even if we're only addressing one issue at a time, issues are systematically addressed, starting with an audit and these key focus areas below.